dedicated to empowering you with information
to make positive choices
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View. Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunetz, and today we're going to be talking about creative solutions to hair loss. And with me today is Sara Duquette. She is the Education Director and Stylist at Cassandra Salon and Spa. Her model today is Sandra Katz, who's the President and CEO of Cassandra Salon and Spa. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm so pleased to have you here. And hair loss is an issue that we've spoken about before in a special program that we did, but solutions is really critical, and that you're going to show that. So how do we go about providing solutions to certain types of hair issues that are going on?
So these are solutions that can help people with hair loss, but also help those women that have just noticed changes. So it's something that's going to give volume to the hair, but with that, because they're applied to the top of the head, it's also going to provide camouflage for any thinning or areas that are lacking. So I've worked on people with alopecia, people with hereditary thinning due to thyroid, which we discussed in the last show. So with these, with Hair Dreams, they make 3 different pieces. So I'm going to show you 2 of them. The third one is a little bit more customizable, so I can tell you a little bit about that.
Okay.
And then I also have some tape-ins that just to kind of show you how quickly you can add hair and length. Because for some people, it's not about up here. It's more that they notice it through their ends that it's more see-through, and they're used to having bulk there. So there's many different. Every single person, it's individual what you end up addressing. So today we're going to actually apply a high line on Sandra, and this is our solution to the top. So when someone comes in and says, like, "Wait, can I have them up here because it looks thin and I don't have as much hair as I used to have?" You can't apply extensions, like actual strand by strand extensions to the top because of the weight and gravity. It's not going to actually lift and give volume. It's going to actually weigh down, and then you'll see the bonds. Okay? So with this, it's a hand-sewn grid, and then all the hair, like you see all these little tiny pieces, all the hair is actually hand-tied into this.
My goodness,
So
and it's real hair?
It's all human hair. It's never been bleached or partially chemically processed at all. It's only been toned for coloring, so that is the healthiest hair you can get, like European hair.
And how do you, in fact, place it on the hair?
So this piece has what we call a bonding ring, which gets inserted throughout the perimeter of it.
Okay.
This would be changed out when she would come in to have her color redone.
Okay.
So we would do a tightening service in between. So usually about 3 to 4 weeks out, she'd come in, and at that point, the hair grows about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, so it would have lifted a bit. So once that lifts a little bit, it might move a little bit. So
Is it glued on?
It's a compound called crystal polymer. They used to call it thermoplast. It's 80% nylon, so there's no glue or adhesive in the product. It is very gentle on the hair. The main difference between that and actually an adhesive would attach itself to the cuticle of the hair, which is where the damage would happen. With this, it's almost hugging the hair really tight. So it's forming and crystallizing around the hair and holding onto it very tightly, but nothing actually is attaching. Like if you could look in a microscope, not attaching to the hair. So when you have an adhesive that attaches, during the removal process, they crack the bond open, and then there's residue on the hair that gets picked off. When that happens, it's stripping off layers of the cuticle. Like if you've ever seen someone pick off an acrylic nail, you lose layers of your nail. Same thing happens with extensions if they're not the quality that you should have.
Okay. So how do you know good quality?
Hair Dreams. But really, it's the questions I tell my clients to ask, and this is why we love Hair Dreams so much, because they're so particular about where they get their hair from, about the quality of it, about it not damaging the hair. I mean, she has strands in right now.
Really? You
She's
would never
worn
know
strands
that.
for the last 10 years.
Really?
When I take them out, and she doesn't wear them because her hair's thin. She's got a great head of hair. But she wears them because it gives her hair so much more versatility. When she curls it, when she styles it, it stays. And that, for
Interesting.
most women, is valuable because how many women do you know that curl their hair with a curling iron? They're like, it falls out in 10 minutes.
And you're going to show us the difference when you put extensions in versus this.
Yep.
So how do you go about doing this now?
So with this, it's integrative. So as I said, it's a mesh.
Yes.
So you've got a grid pattern going on there.
Yeah.
So when this gets placed on top of the head, her hair is actually looped through all those little holes. So it integrates her hair into this.
Okay.
Which is what makes it unique because a lot of times, we've seen hair pieces that are clip-ons.
Yes.
Which are lovely if that's what the client needs. The problem for someone like her, though, is why would you clip something on top of all of that nice hair?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is going to give her volume, and it's going to sit on top of the head,
Okay.
and all her hair is going to get looped through it.
So isn't that interesting how this color melds in with her hair? So is coloring important?
Very. So we've all probably seen people walk around on the street with color extensions that don't match their hair. It's an obvious. People will see it and know immediately that you have extensions on your head.
Okay.
Especially with hair pieces, more than anything, color is hugely important because these clients don't want anyone to know they're wearing anything on the top of their head.
Right.
So
It's
with
amazing
her,
how it just blends right in.
we custom colored this. So, I ordered a color that was as bright as her ends.
Yes.
Because you always want to tint darker, not go lighter. Because if
Okay.
you go lighter, you're using a harsher chemical than if you go darker. When you're just depositing color into hair, it's not going to hurt it. If anything, it's going to make it shiny and close a cuticle.
So I notice you clip it in.
Yep. So all I do is I clip it at the top,
Okay.
and then I'm going to go around, and I can certainly answer questions as I work if you want to continue the
Absolutely.
conversation.
Yeah.
So I'll go around and I'll make a few attachment points. Once I make a few attachment points all the way around, then I'll loop the hair through. Then I do the rest of the attachment points. The reason why, she has a good amount of hair. So what would happen if I did all the attachment points and then didn't loop the hair through until the end, there's movement automatically because the hair is taking space underneath it. So if I want to get it nice and tight, I have to do part of it, loop it through, and then finish it.
So when you say loop it, is it like a threading of the hair going
I use a crochet hook.
Oh, you
and,
do?
Yep. And so what happens is you have the bonding ring.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take a little piece of her hair and you're going to loop it around the bonding ring.
Let's see you do it.
Yep.
This'll be
And then
neat.
you're going to heat up the bond and tap it down, which is just going to give her these tiny little attachment points. The other thing that makes this system so great is you have multiple points of attachment, which really helps to support the weight of the hair. The problem a lot of people have with clip-ons, which I've seen, over time, and not to say, not the one that we do with Hair Dreams because it's actually a smaller hair piece.
So you weave it through.
So you wrap the hair around the bonding ring.
Uh-huh.
This protects her scalp. So that goes right underneath.
It doesn't hurt. No. And then what is this that you're putting on
So
it?
now this heats the bond. So it melts the bonding ring.
Okay. And it doesn't hurt the client's
Nope.
hair or anything of that
Because like I
sort?
said, this
attaching
material,
to the ring.
Yep, and this material hugs the hair, doesn't adhere to the hair.
Okay.
So the verbiage is very important because you're not actually attaching anything to the cuticle. The bond is crystallizing around the hair and holding onto it very tight. So that's the difference, is that you don't want something that's going to stick or adhere.
All right.
Because that's where you're going to get some damage.
So there are critical points that you need to put it at.
Yep.
It's not all the way around that particular.
It's exactly like changing a tire. You want to go opposite. So I'm going to do
north,
a few.
south, east, and west.
Yep. So I'm going to do a few here. Then I'm going to go here.
Okay.
Then I'll go here. Then I'll go here. Otherwise, you're going to get uneven attachment if you don't do that.
And as a client receiving this, there's no pain involved with this. Zero pain. And is there any preparation that a client needs to do before having it done?
Consultation
Okay.
is huge because we have to figure out what is right for you. We also have to talk about maintenance.
What is it like to maintain this?
So not much at home. I mean, you can wash this, blow dry it like normal.
Really, it functions like regular hair.
Yep. You have to get used to obviously having something in there, just like you would with extensions. So it's definitely going to feel a little different if you've never worn something before. But maintenance-wise, I mean, it feels like your hair. It's going to blend into your hair. It's going to act like hair.
And do you, in fact, style it into the existing hair? Cut
Yeah.
into?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I had clipped this onto her hair without attaching it and pre-cut it a bit just so we didn't have to do so much cutting here and we could focus on the application.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they're they're pretty quick and simple. And we were discussing it on the way here that I don't actually have to book extra time for these. Like I still book my normal color cut time because I can take these off in about 10 minutes, put on someone's base color in the next 20, and then I fix this up in between. And then when I do your haircut, I put it back on. It takes me, 15 minutes. I stop talking, and it's very quick. So it's nice because it's not necessarily taking up the client's time. They're not obligated to do much more other than come in for that tightening service in between their color service.
I see.
And one benefit too that I tell a lot of my clients, if they're worried about the added cost, because obviously it's an extra service that they would be doing, sometimes this can help you prolong your hair color. Because one thing you will notice when you wear one of these is that your roots don't show so fast. So because when you tighten it down, you have that something that's always right there. So you don't actually notice your regrowth as much. So sometimes like a 6-week client can push it out to 8 weeks. So it makes it a little more affordable.
And a piece like this, is it expensive?
So they all are different. This one in particular would retail around $825. But what's great is it's good for a whole year or more if you take really good care of it. Where most people that wear extension sets, would spend that a couple times a year.
Really? So you need to change it up every year, a year and a half?
Usually, it gets wear and tear. If you're someone that blows your hair out every single day, all of this is hand tied into the mesh. So you might put a lot of wear and tear on it, where someone else who washes their hair once a week puts no wear and tear on it. So that person may have theirs for 2 years. Most of my clients wear them beyond a year because they take very good care of them.
And so when you put them in, let's say somebody has cancer and has had a variety of treatments and has begun to lose their hair, but they still have hair
I would
on their
never
head.
recommend something like this if they're
Okay.
actively losing hair.
Okay.
You don't want to put any added weight on a head that has hair loss.
Okay, that's important to know.
Very important. But also why I would encourage, consultations with clients, because even if you're at that place where, let's say you're going through, a phase of hair loss, it's important to know the specifics, know when it tapers off. When could you potentially get into something like this? Because a lot of the time, people who think they're still in active hair loss, they're not. They're just still dealing with the trauma of the fact that they actually lost their hair. So a lot of times when I talk with clients, it's actually not, they're not in that phase anymore. But they still, because they're traumatized from losing so much, that they still think they are. So it's important to have a professional look at it and really tell you, if you have hair regenerating, because clients don't necessarily know what to look for when they're looking at their hair, if it's growing back in or if it's not, they're not sure what stage it's at. All they know is it fell out and they think it's still falling out. So
the ideal candidate, and what is this called again?
this is called a high line.
A high line, because it's centered from the center of the head and then going back?
Yep, so this is the only piece that they make that's actually really mobile. So you could put this towards the front. I put it very standard, which is usually about 2 fingers back from the hairline.
Okay.
But this one can be moved to the back. Like if you have people that love that teasing and volume in the back of their head, you could put that right under where they wear that bump, and it would give them volume. Because it's so lightweight, it can be moved. So it does not have to sit in the same place all the time.
So who would be an ideal candidate for this?
Really anyone that wants volume. I also have, clients that I use it for thinning, if their hair is thinning on the top.
Okay.
And it works great, like I said, to camouflage.
So as long as there's hair to attach it to.
Yes, that's the most important thing. And as long as it's not actively falling out.
And when you do this, you're not burning the hair, not harming any of the existing hair, nor the hair piece.
Right. Yep, because it's just the bonding ring. So none of this that I'm attaching is touching any of the hair piece.
So would this be a good time? Generally, it takes, you said, about 15 minutes to put something like this in. And through the stages, after you do the bonding of it, then what comes next?
So I'm going to do this last bond on this side.
Yes.
And then I'm going to loop all the hair through with the crochet hook. Then I'll go through and fill in any spots that we didn't attach yet.
And then in the end, it should look as if it's just normal hair, been there forever.
Yep. It'll just look like she has more hair.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. And then you were saying, besides this, so this is one particular part of helping someone who has thinning hair.
Yep.
And I notice on the table that you have other things there. What are the other things that you can do for people?
So I also brought with me quickies, which are tape-in extensions. I use those a lot when, I have someone come in that they just want fuller hair. They have a good amount of hair. They want to see more thickness through their ends, or they don't have enough bulk to really cover the bonds of the hair. The great thing about quickies is you would take them out and put them back in every 4 to 6 weeks. They're tape, and I'll grab them in a minute so you can see what they look like. But because you're replacing them more often, they stay really close to the scalp. So for some people, if they don't have enough of a veil of hair to cover a bond, sometimes I'll opt for a tape-in because I'm going to fix it more often. When someone wears a permanent bond, which is what she has, but she has plenty of hair to cover it, permanent bonds would stay in 4 to 6 months. So if you have someone with very short hair or very see-through hair, sometimes the quickies are the best option because I'd be moving them up every 4 to 6 weeks. So they'd stay very close to the scalp. So
Really?
Everything that they make has its place. The bonds are great for people, but these would tape to each other.
Okay.
So I would take a thin piece of her hair, put it in between, and then it would tape in to add material.
Now, do you ever do a combination of
Yes.
the top and this?
Yep. Sometimes I'll do full sets on people, and if they don't have enough of that, veil section to cover their bonds, I'll do a row of quickies just on the top,
Okay.
and then everything else will be permanent. So that all they have to do is change out that first row. And so it's not like they're changing a whole head of quickies. So anything in this system is interchangeable. You
And the
can
color
mix.
again to match.
Yep. Yep. So now at this point, we're going to pull the hair through.
Okay. You're doing okay. Such a wonderful model. Oh, I see how. Okay.
So what's great about this is in comparison to, let's say, something like a lot of clients ask me well, why would I do this instead of just going to buy a clip-on?
Right.
There are benefits to clip-ons because you can take them off at night and not have anything attached to your hair, which I will say feels great.
Okay.
What makes this so unique and so wonderful, this works with your lifestyle. So in the summer, if you like to swim, if you like to go on a boat and it's very windy, this can be worn.
So you don't have to worry about it flying away.
Exactly, because that is the biggest fear for most women wearing hair pieces is what if it came off?
And also if it got wet, would it show
Windy.
a difference with the rest
Well,
of
the
the
biggest
hair?
issue with a clip-on, if it got wet, is the weight of it. So you got to remember with a lot of clip-ons, even like that one on the table, there's 4 clips on it. So you have 4 attachment points, which is not giving a lot of distribution to the weight. It's 4 points.
Okay.
So when that gets wet, it's going to be a lot heavier and it's going to be a lot more cumbersome, and it's going to put stress only on those 4 pieces that it's attached to. With this, it's attached by, anywhere from 15 to 22 points. So it's evenly distributing the weight, which is why when I put this on her, she's like, oh, it feels so lightweight. That's why. Because it has multiple attachment points. So it's not putting pressure or stress on one part of the head. It's evenly distributing the weight that is there.
And in the end, you won't see anything. Fascinating. And you have other pieces here also, besides these.
Yep.
I see that you have,
So that's how the quickies come. So I brought that one because that's how they're packaged. And then I also brought a package of the nanos, which are the individual bonds, which is, like I said, what she has through the bottom to thicken her hair.
Okay.
So these are the individual strands, which we still can hand roll, which are what have been done for years and years. But Hair Dreams has recently come out with this laser beamer nano. Now this can put 5 strands in at a time. The nice thing about it is it presses the strands. So when it presses the bond, it fans the hair out and makes it very fluffy. So it makes it instantly very full, very thick.
And how does that work? What are you attaching that to?
To their hair.
To
So
their
that would
hair.
be for lengthening, for underneath. That would not be for anything on the top.
Okay.
Yep, for length or thickness.
And is that replaced often?
4 to 6 months.
4
So
to
those are
6
the bonded
months
ones.
also.
Yep, those are the bonded strands that I was talking about. That would be every 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
And you can do anywhere, when I consult with people, a lot of times they're shocked because most people think, oh, extensions are thousands of dollars. Well, yeah, if you're talking about doing hair down to your waist and a full thick head of it. But there are so many services I do in the salon that are right in line with what we pay for color, because I'm just adding in a little bit of hair. I did a woman the other day that She wanted to thicken her sides, but she was in for a partial highlight. So I put foils through the top of her head, and I did a thickening on the sides, but I chose to use her highlight colors for her thickening, which basically gives her a non-chemical highlight through the sides of her head. So she's still getting a partial highlight. I'm just also thickening her hair at the same time.
Fascinating. So that really, somebody is having hair loss, that must really boost their self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And if they didn't tell anybody about it, they would never know that this was an option that has helped them.
I have those conversations all the time with people, where we'll get to talking about it, and they're, they say it all the time. I had no idea there was stuff like this out there. Like I had a woman come to me that had the whole top of her head was full of extensions because someone was trying to help her and give her thickness, but it was giving the opposite because she couldn't really cover the bonds, so she was more stressed about it. When I introduced her to this hairpiece, she was like, I had no idea this is the best thing I've ever worn. And not for nothing, it's more comfortable.
Isn't it interesting that there's so much that people don't know about? That's the importance of doing a show like this, to inform people.
Yep. And as I said in the last one, the most important thing is that, women need to be willing to talk about it. It's okay to want thicker hair. It's okay to, feel like it's thinned. We all go through it. Every single woman out there goes through it. And so for whatever reason, when we go through things, a lot of times we feel very alone. But just know that like all women are feeling the same thing you're feeling. That they want it fuller, they want it thicker. I mean, I have women with really thick hair that will come in and they're like, oh, it's just thinned out so much. I'm like, they have more hair than I've ever had, But it's how they feel.
Right.
And that's really
Which
what
is
this is all about.
Absolutely important. So as you're doing that, when would a person not benefit from this and need to go to a week?
When they don't have enough hair to attach it to.
Okay.
It's really all about the amount of hair that they have. And that's why I say, like, she's a great candidate because she has a great amount of hair. But I do this on plenty of people that don't. Everyone's maintenance on it will be a little different. I have one woman that, she'll use the powder spray that kind of fills in, gappy areas because she's very, very thin in the front, but it's only the front. So she just uses a little bit of that in the front, and we use this to fill out the rest, and it works great on her. She has plenty of hair to attach it to, and that's really all that matters. But every individual is going to be different as far as their need, what piece would work for them, what they're comfortable with. I've started, some people out with this hair piece just because I know if I gave them any more hair than this, it would be too much for them to adjust to. Okay. And then I've started people out with the top hair just because I know I can sew clips on it so they can take it off at night. So it's a matter of figuring out that person, and what
their lifestyle.
Yeah, what's going to stress them out, because I don't want this to be a stressful situation for anyone.
No.
And it can be, it absolutely can be.
Stressful enough to have hair loss, but then to have it added.
But also think of it this way. I mean, think about, when you go to the salon and you get a new haircut. You guys are not professionals.
Right.
We can blow dry anything and make it look great. But you get home and immediately you're like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this, because it's something totally different. So it's times 10 when you're dealing with extensions or hair pieces, which is why you want to make sure you're working with someone who's willing to work with you. That there's no stress there, that if you have to call and talk about, whatever concerns you may be having, that matters to the stylist. That has to matter because it can be a difficult thing to get used to because you're going from less hair to more.
Can all hairstylists do this?
No, you have to be certified.
Okay.
So Hair Dreams is wonderful. Their customer service is wonderful. So, depending on the area that you're in, we're obviously in Nashua, but depending on your area, you can contact Hair Dreams, and there's salons all over the place.
So people are trained to know how to do this effectively?
Everything that they do is a 2-day certification.
Okay.
So, so you have to go through proper training to be able to do any of this stuff.
That's wonderful. Yep. So when a person wants to have a consultation, how specifically should they ask? What type of appointment would they be asking for when they're calling?
So I would recommend if they were to call our salon, they would want to speak with me because I do all of this. Okay. Not everyone at the salon. Like we have people that do strands and things like that. Okay. Because I teach at the salon too, if I feel it's something that someone else can do, I can place them with that person. Okay. But I would be the most knowledgeable as far as what to put you in. Like if you're a hairpiece, you're going to stay with me. If you're, just the tape-ins, I can put you with one of the girls. And I would choose that appropriately. But they would want to speak with me, and I work extra hours, that way I can fit these consultations in. We usually charge anywhere from 25 to 50 for a consult, depending on if it can be a 15 or 30 minutes. Sometimes like talking about all this stuff would take 30 minutes.
Yes.
Because we really want to dive into everything, and I want them to know everything about what they may invest in.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, proper consultations first, and then we book from there. And I make myself available, because when people decide they want to do this, they want to do it like now, not 3 months from now. So
you have stock of these things
yes,
in,
yes, we
in
do
a
stock
variety
hair,
of
yeah.
colors.
And we use them often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So if we were to summarize in the last 2.5 minutes, what would you want most for people to know? Like, I know you're almost finished with all of it.
I mean, I just
blending so nicely.
I would
How
just
does
want
it feel?
people to know.
And it's like regular hair. You'd never know the difference.
Yep. And I would just want women to know that there are a lot of solutions, and to not be ashamed of it, to not be nervous about it. Yes, it's different, but especially the way I handle my business, I work with you. It's not the kind of relationship where I do it, and if you're struggling with it, I get offended. It's this is a very personal thing, and getting into working with hair pieces is tricky, because sometimes it can be very emotional, and it's emotional for me as well, seeing these women go through this. So anything I can do to help them feel beautiful, I mean, that's what I got into this business for. So
that's wonderful. So if people wanted to contact you, how would they go about doing that?
They call the salon. Yep.
Okay, and the number for that?
603-888-3300.
And they would ask for Sara Duquette.
Yep.
And
And
they
if I'm not available, they can leave me a note, and I will call them back personally.
And they would specifically be asking for a hair loss solution?
Yep. So anything hair thickening, extensions, hair pieces, I mean, they can say anything hair dreams related, and they would want to talk to me.
Very good. And as far as anything somebody needs to do to prepare for their visit with you?
Would just be find your dream hairstyle. That helps me better fit what you need. Is to know, how would you love to see your hair?
So bring pictures, get a sense of it before you come in, so that you are able to guide them.
Yep.
This has been wonderful. So all of these things are in the salon, easily available for people. So once they have that appointment with you, you can review it and let them know, based upon their hair and their texture and everything else, explain to them what you believe might work best.
Yes.
And as far as the client's perspective, once they decide to do that, is the turnaround fairly quick?
Yeah, I usually try to get them in within the next week or two, because I know they're going to want to do it right away. So
Very good.
Yeah, I try to make myself available.
So the important thing here is that if anybody is suffering from any hair loss at all, that there are solutions for them.
Absolutely.
And that can help them be beautiful, make them feel good in their process. I thank you both very much for being with us today. And if you have any questions, contact me at info@ycdholistichealing.com. Thank you.